In my 10 years of experience as a college chaplain, working across the United States, alhamdulillah, may Allah accept, I have seen my students from various genders, various backgrounds, from various countries. They make these critical mistakes in their lives, which affects them for the rest of their lives. And if they had only reached out and made shura, as Allah tells us to do in the Quran, then they would be perhaps more equipped to make the right decisions. Consultation is very important, and being the one who offers the intervention is also very important. I'm Chaplain Adeel Zeb. Welcome to our series, WoRx. The topic for today is intervention. The hadith that I want to highlight in this topic is narrated by Anas and found in Sahih Bukhari, where the Prophet ﷺ instructed his companions to help the person who is wrong and who is wronged. And the companions said, Ya Rasulullah, we understand helping the person who is wronged, but what about the person who is wrong? And the Prophet ﷺ responded, you help them by intervening and stopping them from committing that wrong act. Another example of this is you have a friend who is in a marriage, and it's better for your friend to leave that marriage because of the harm that would happen if they stayed in that marriage. Alternatively, you could have a friend who is in a marriage, is having some problem, or she's having some problems, and it's better that you intervene by keeping them together, right? What is the best action to stop the wrong in this moment, people you care about in your inner circles? The problem that we face, and this happens with all of the Gen Zs that are watching and also everybody else who's watching, is that we don't want to get involved. When people in our community are suffering, our close ones, our loved ones, we know they're going down a dark path, the dark side of the force, so to speak, and we are not doing anything about it because we don't want to get involved, we don't want to sound like we're judgy, and so on and so forth. This is a problem because we all have quote-unquote blind spots, and we can't always make objective decisions because we are emotionally compromised. In my 10 years of experience as a college chaplain, working across the United States, alhamdulillah, may Allah accept, I have seen my students from various genders, various backgrounds, from various countries. They make these critical mistakes in their lives, which affects them for the rest of their lives. And if they had only reached out and made shura, as Allah tells us to do in the Quran, then they would be perhaps more equipped to make the right decisions. Consultation is very important, and being the one who offers the intervention is also very important. How many times in our own lives have we asked, I wish I didn't do that? How many times in our own lives did we have a chance to intervene and stop our friend from doing something, or our close member of our family, and we didn't say anything? How many times as parents have we wished that we had helped our children? And how many times as children, as college students, have we wished our parents had intervened in a matter? The examples are limitless. Now, the issue is that moving forward, there's two extremes. The one extreme is, I don't want to get involved, I don't want to touch this. And the other extreme is that I'm so heavily involved, I'm hyper managing everything, micromanaging it. It's also highly problematic. So where is the balance in that, right? How do we know how to intervene and when to intervene and what should we say? If the individual is going to a path of sin, as Muslims, we want to intervene in the situation. When we intervene, it should not come from a place where we sound like we are holier than thou and we are sentencing them to hell. That also can repel them away. But if you open up with some of the struggles that you're going through, and if in your eyes you have emotion and you're speaking from your heart, and you tell someone, this is because I love you and I care about you, otherwise I wouldn't waste my time, that message comes across totally differently. And Imam Shafi'i, rahmatullah alayh, he said that if you try to advise someone in public, then the advice kind of just ruin the whole thing. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in Surah Ali Imran, in the 3rd Surah, 110th ayah, تَأْمُرُونَ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ وَتَنْهَوْنَ عَنِ الْمُنْكَرِ. to what is classically or is traditionally known as enjoying the good and forbidding the evil. Ahmad al-Shukri, who is an Al-Maghrib instructor, thought that perhaps a alternative definition is to promote virtue and suffocate vice. There is a maxim of Islamic jurisprudence from the Qawa'id al-Fiqh that harm must be removed or harm must be eliminated. But now we have to figure out, okay, we understand all this about the haram and removing sin and harm and all this, but need to tell us how we're going to do this. So number one, you need to see if the person that you're wanting to intervene with is committing a clear sin. Not something that scholars differ on. It is a very clear sin. So, to all my California friends out there and partially Texas and maybe Arizona, if they're eating an In-N-Out cheeseburger, does not necessarily mean they're committing a sin, and you cannot beat them up for, this is not how it works, right? Has to be a clear sin. Number two, see if this act is causing harm to others. We need to get over the taboo of people's activities and what they're doing with their lives. An example of this is, your friend is drinking and they want to start driving. You can be that designated driver and drive that person home. Because if you don't know, they could get arrested, they could hurt themselves, they could kill people, and they wouldn't even remember it the next day. Perhaps a more gray area, if you're critically thinking, as my students often do, is what about marijuana? If somebody is smoking marijuana, which I'm going to name that there are strong racial systemic problems against people of color in the punishment of people engaged in marijuana use and selling. But I'm focusing on if someone is smoking marijuana by themselves, do you intervene? Maybe, maybe not. But you can get more clear from the gray. If your friend is in college and they were getting all A's and their lifestyle didn't change except for one main thing where they started smoking marijuana and now they're failing out of college, you can intervene. Okay, all right. This is clear. Their life is falling apart. You should intervene, right? And people, they smoke marijuana for different reasons. Some of them are veterans. They've gone to war. It helps them taking their own life. Some people have medicinal purposes. I'm not talking about those kinds of situations. In this example, substance abuse intervention is not just about what they're doing at that moment. People, generally speaking, or at least some of the time, are reaching for these substances because they're trying to escape from something. So try to find out what that core problem is and try to help them get help. The final point I wanted to mention was how to intervene. Now, if you come at them with this super swagged out haram police ready to rip them apart, make them feel bad, it's not going to work. But if you come at them with this compassion, with eyes of compassion, with your heartfelt talk, and then you say something about yourself you're struggling with, and you tell the person that I really care about you. This is coming from a place of rahmah and goodwill, and you're doing it in private, as Imam Shafi'i has told us, may Allah have mercy on his soul, that if you advise someone in public, you've basically ruined your entire attempt to advise them. If you found value in this video, hit that like button, and if you want more, check out our WoRx playlist, 40 ways to reconnect with your own heart and the hearts of others.